flying, birds are singing. It's spring again. Step back into greatness. Step back into greatness. Hello, greatness. Bye-bye, Mr. Bright. Bye-bye, Father of Lies. Bye-bye to all your time. Hello, greatness. Walking in this narrow way, who may I serve today? On my knees I love to pray and hear the Master say, come on in. The sound of meat goes in soft and sweet, causing the eardrums to beat to the sounds of words spoken with fire, causing the inward part.
Greetings, it's about time, audience. I am your host, Oriel Javon. Thank you for joining me today. I'm fortunate to be in the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia's conference room. Yes, Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia do exist. And probably a lot of you already know about it. I didn't. I was fortunate enough to meet Mr. Gerald Mansfield a couple of Saturdays ago. He was able to enlighten me on the Sickle Cell Foundation. Basically, his personality is what got me. He was very friendly, very cordial, but he was very concerned about our group of individuals that are faced with a disease that have been really relevant in our community for some time. The interest piqued me that we need to know about it. We need to hear about it. That's why I'm here. So we'll be right back with Gerald Mansfield. Thank you so much. Peace.
Causing the inward parts to burn with zeal, ambition, aspiration, motivating the eyes to water with enlightened understanding, writing by words demanding attention, causing feet to pat, hands to clap, folks jumping, shouting, sitting back, speaking words perhaps rehearsed but reveal a certain uniqueness that warrants attention.
Thank you for joining me, Gerald.
Good to be with you, Brother Javon.
Yes, sir. I want you to hold that mic just a little bit closer, you know,
Okay.
like we just having fun here.
Okay, all right, very good.
Gerald Mansfield, tell me a little bit about who you are, first of all.
Okay, and even though it's not about who I am, but what I'm all about, I
Sure.
think it's more important.
Okay.
I'm a young man that came out of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Actually came down here to do undergrad work at Morehouse and
Okay.
ended up staying and became a part of the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia back in 1973.
So you've been with the Sickle Cell Foundation since 1973?
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct.
And, man, what is the Sickle Cell Foundation all about?
Well, the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia was an entity that came into place because there was a team of doctors, a couple doctors, Dr. Nelson McGee Jr., the late Dr. Nelson McGee Jr., and Dr. DeLuther King. They were individuals who were in the medical field and providing quality health care services, and they had a number of clients, patients, that either had the carrier state sickle cell trait or disease and some of the other hemoglobin problems. But yet they realized that the support and the understanding, the knowledge that was out there was very limited. And they decided that they want to stop looking at the problem but start looking at the solution. So out of that birthed the Sickle Cell Foundation of Georgia with the mission of being focused on education, screening, and counseling. And we can go in detail with what that's all about.
Okay. Sickle cell is a disease
Yes, sir.
within the body.
Yes, sir.
How does it affect the body?
Okay. The sickle cell disease itself, we want to make sure we understand that it is a broad term.
Okay.
The sickle cell disease includes a lot of hemoglobin disorders. We talk about the hemoglobin.
Hemoglobin, what does
Yes.
that mean?
Hemoglobin is something that's in your red blood cells.
Red blood cell.
Right, and red blood cells are extremely important and needed for carrying oxygen to all parts of our body. So yes, we breathe it in naturally.
Sure.
And when it gets into our lungs, but it has to be some mode of transportation to get it to all of our organs that
Yeah.
need oxygen.
Okay.
And so with sickle cell disease, it can inhibit the ability of the body to carry oxygen as it should. Normally, red blood cells are round, soft, flexible cells that can move through the bloodstream very, very fast.
Right.
And even being able to go through spaces 7 times smaller than their width. Those red blood cells can. But when you have the disease with sickle cell anemia, some of those cells will turn from round to sickle. And those cells are like a quarter moon. They're hard, they're rigid, they're sticky, and they can jam up in the blood vessels. And down the line from the blockage comes the pain. So it can be a very painful disease. It can start messing with those little cells that make up tissues. And the tissues make up organs, so it can destroy the body, starting at a cellular level, even to affecting systems in the bodies.
You said a couple of things that got my attention. Cells going through the body, because I like to feed my cells. I mean, when I eat, I generally like to eat to feed my cells.
Good.
Sickle cell is, I guess it's another way I want to go with this.
Okay.
Why is it in the African American community that this organization is headquartered?
Okay. Well, as far as who is affected by the disease.
Got it. Yeah, well, let's go there.
Oh, that's having the trait.
Sure.
More African Americans tend to have sickle cell disease or hemoglobin disorder, such as sickle cell trait, than others. But I wanted to make sure it's clear that it's not a black disease.
Got it.
It is hereditary, and it did come in through agricultural methodologies, came from Malaysia into Africa. And one of the things that was interestingly that is found out is that persons who had the sickle cell trait, and that's where you inherit sickle cell from only one side of the family, but normal gene or message from the other side of the family, those individuals are extremely healthy individuals. It makes up about 10% of the African American population that have the sickle cell trait. Well, those persons, they believe, had a built-in protection against a deadly form of malaria. Yes, so a sickle cell trait is believed to have protected against a serious form of malaria. And consequently, in any area that malaria is a problem, you'll find sickle cell there more often as well.
Got it. Now, malaria is a disease, sometimes they say it's carried by flies.
Mosquitoes typically are quoted as being the ones that carry it.
Some of the symptoms of sickle cell.
Yes.
And we're going at a rapid pace with this simply because we want to cover a lot of bases, but we're going to do some other things.
Certainly.
You were speaking of being in the African American community.
Yes.
And how was it brought to your attention or to the attentions of the founder of this organization that the African Americans needed more education on the sickle cell dis-easement than others?
Yes. Well, the mere fact that they were dealing with patients and they were dealing with physiological problems that they were having, and so they were able to discover that there were some differences. And you know, even though it was the early 70s when this organization got started, pretty much across this country, there was very little knowledge of sickle cell trait, sickle cell disease, but yet it was discovered as early as over 100 years ago.
100 years
Over
ago.
100 years ago, it was actually documented in medical journals.
You're saying that this disease was documented in the 1800s? 1900s?
Yes.
Early 1900s?
Yes.
It was documented.
Yes.
So it took from the early 1900s to the 1970s that this organization was founded.
Yes, and you know, there was until the 70s, it wasn't groups of individuals, more like families and certain tapestries of love that came together to support individuals who were affected by disease. But there was so much lack of knowledge, so much misinformation that was out there.
Okay.
And the government started supporting education, screening, counseling
And
to help us reach more people.
when did they start that?
Actually, around 73.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we were chartered in 71.
Got it.
And funds started to come down, trickle down to the various states in 70.
Okay.